Well, it's Friday here at the Friary, and I've been assigned to cook today. So on Fridays, I always like to cook fish because it brings back so many good memories of when I would go back to Iowa. And my dad and I would drive up along the Mississippi River. It's really a picturesque drive. It's about 45 minutes north of where my parents lived up to Guttenberg, which is a place we could put our boat in. My dad just had a little flat bottom boat with, I think, a 15-horse motor. Nothing to brag about, but it was enough to get us across the Mississippi River. And we'd catch all sorts of fish. We'd catch sheephead, which some fishermen didn't keep, but my dad knew how to clean them, and I always liked them even better than catfish. And one time I landed into a walleye, which is really a treat because they're one of the best tasting fish that you can catch. We would catch catfish as well, and bass, and once in a while a crappie here or there. So when we would go home, then my dad and I would clean the fish in the garage on Grandma's old table. And he had an electric knife, and so he would do the fillets, and then I would cut off the red part, and I would do other additional cleaning, and then we'd put them on salt water. And then we'd fry them up fresh that night or the next day or two. And if you've never had fresh fish, it's out of this world. No comparison with frozen fish. So we've got some nice catfish fillets here. And I'm just cutting them into smaller strips, which are easier to cook. And my dad always liked to remove the dark red stuff because that gives it the fishy taste. So that's generally what I try to do too, is I'm cutting out the dark red strip. Not all of it, but at least the stuff that are probably the most fishy tasting. So I've got here just some simple flour and some cornmeal here. And I'm going to put it in this bag because it's going to be a shake and bake kind of thing. We're not going to bake, but we're going to fry them. So I'm just going to stick a bunch of just plain flour in here. Get a bunch of that going. Then we'll put a couple scoops of cornmeal. Sorry, I don't have an exact recipe here. It's just kind of whatever you think is going to be about right. And then we got some nice lemon pepper here, so I'm going to shake a bunch of that in there. Give it a nice little spicy salt and pepper taste. And that's about it. And then I'm just going to mix it up here. So now we're going to just throw a couple of these fillets in here. Get them nice and coated. So a little at a time, and you can see it's just a light batter, but it's just enough to give it some salt and pepper taste and a little coating. I don't like a heavy coating. My dad never did either. But just something light that gives it a little more flavor and a little more crunch. That's what is always nice, is that little crunch. When I was an engineer, my godfather, who was an avid fisherman, he would go up to Minnesota, up near Fargo, North Dakota, actually, but it was still in Minnesota. And I would go with him as well as some other relatives. And we'd go fishing all day. So in the morning, we would go fishing for crappies at 9 o'clock. And then in the early afternoon, we'd go fishing for northern pike. And then in the evening, we'd go bass fishing. And then when it was dark, then we'd get bullheads. It's kind of like a catfish. And we just enjoyed it, and we always brought a lot of fish back home to put in the freezer and to enjoy. So I got all of the fillets battered here. They're ready to go in the hot oil. So how do you know when the oil is hot enough, if you don't have a deep fryer that I don't. Well, you take a little piece of bread and you drop it in there. And look at that. When you see that it's cooking up and it's going to get golden brown here, within a minute, if it's golden brown and crunchy, then you know that it's 185 degrees or so, and it's ready for the fish to be dropped in there. You don't want to put too many fish in at the same time because that's going to cool down the oil, but it's also going to make it more difficult to be able to actually fry the fish. So yeah, you see it's turned golden brown and look like it's crunchy, so these fish are ready to be dropped in the hot oil. And we're just going to drop it in. We'll drop that one in there too. One more of these little guys. You can hear it's cooking away. And then we're going to watch them, and as they come to the surface, they're going to become buoyant. And they're going to become golden brown. And we'll know that they're ready to take out. Look at those babies go. Let's see how this little guy's looking. Oh, he is, I think he's about done. Doesn't take too long to cook a little strip like that, so we're going to give that one a taste test here shortly, and we'll pull these other two out. This one looks like he's done too. Good golden brown. This one was a bigger piece, so we'll give him a little bit more time. So we're going to take this last one out here. He's turned good golden brown. We'll let him cool off a bit, and then we'll have a taste test and see how I did, if I got close to what Dad used to do. Nice and flaky. Could use a little more salt, but I love the texture. You see how it's nice and flaky, it's not dried out. And the cornmeal adds a nice crunch. But I think what I'll do with these is I'll just put a little more salt on top of them, and we're good to go. So I hope you enjoyed this video on making fish like my dad used to do. And like us, subscribe, and may God bless you, the Father and the Son and the Holy Spirit.